Good morning, everybody, and thank you so much for being with us here on KXAN Live. I'm Will Dupree, coming to you from the KXAN Live studio on this gloomy yet incredibly humid day here in Austin. Certainly doesn't feel like December, but the weather is not the story we're going to discuss today. One story that is trending right now on our website at kxan.com has this really fascinating headline and such interesting information that we thought we'd have a much longer conversation about it today because I thought you all might be interested in it. Here's the headline. It reads, "Bilingual children might have a superpower, UT study finds." We want to delve in more on with the reporter behind this story. Her name is Cameron Greiser, and she is one of our KXAN News interns this semester. She's also a senior at UT here in Austin, studying journalism. Cameron, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, Will. I'm so excited to talk about this story.
It is such a fascinating read. That headline just grips you right away, but I really want to delve into first what got you looking into this story. How did you find out about it?
I have a friend who actually teaches English second language students here in Austin. And she told me that a lot of her students were actually struggling right now coming out of the pandemic. There were a lot of teacher shortages, and on top of that, it's just hard to adjust back to in-person learning for these students. And it made me interested. I grew up with a lot of bilingual friends. Being in Texas, it's a very diverse state. And it made me think, how did my education experience as a monolingual English speaker differ from my friends? So yeah, I looked into this UT study because I saw it come out, and I thought it was a really awesome chance to learn more.
Well, we're so glad you looked into it because it really is fascinating. But let's talk about what this study looked into specifically.
Yeah, so Maria Arredondo, who is the director of the Child's Research and Development Lab at UT, she has done over hundreds of studies on infants in her postdoctoral time, and she's really looked at how bilingual students, or bilingual children rather, are thinking and learning differently from monolingual children. So one thing she found is that bilingual infants specifically, they might have a little bit of a superpower when it comes to executive functions.
Yeah, that is what's so fascinating about the headline for your story there. What is this superpower they identified in the research?
Yeah, so she identifies the superpower as code switching. Code switching is switching between languages. Often bilingual infants, even though they're not speaking the language quite yet, they are listening and they are trying to adjust their attention to the different languages. And this ability to switch between languages later on in a child's life can actually help them with things like behavior and planning, which has been shown in studies to affect academic ability. Yeah.
And your story included this example that gives all of us a little bit of a look into how these bilingual children's brains work. Let's look at this figure that you included in your story. Tell us what we're looking at here and how this works exactly.
Yeah, so you may recognize images like this as like a practical illusion. These are called ambiguous figures, and they're actually used by neuroscientists and psychologists to measure visual perception. And so maybe you look at this and you see a man, maybe you look at this and you see a rat. So in theory, Arredondo's study tells us that bilingual children can possibly switch between these two images with better ease than a monolingual child. The way that bilingual infants are actually able to distinguish then from two different languages is actually a very fascinating thing in and of itself. So infants, their brains are like sponges. We all know that. But something cool is that every language has its own distinct sounds, and there's actually over 800 different sounds in every world language. And at birth, a child is able to perceive all of those sounds, the entire spectrum, something that we as adults can't exactly do. So a simultaneous bilingual, a child who's learning a language at the very same time as another language instead of having a primary one, is able to acquire the phonemes or the sounds of that language at the same time as the other language. And this window of time you have where you can hear all these different sounds is actually very short. And as you age, you're no longer able to perceive all of these sounds. So that's why it's so important that these children are able to switch between different languages at such a young age.
Wow, I mean, that's what's so fascinating is this window of time being a better thing for these children in the long run. What's also cool for your story is that you went to see how this research actually works in person. So let's take a look at some of the video you got and tell us what we're seeing here.
Yeah, so as you can see, this is little baby Zephyr. This is just a demonstration of Ardondo's study and how it might work. She puts this cap on the child that is able to send hundreds of little infrared lasers into the brain of the child that she uses to monitor oxygenation levels as the child is given a variety of different attention and memory tasks. So you'll see here in a moment, there is the lab assistant giving the child a model activity, and then the child is going to try to perform the activity the same way. And what this is doing is just testing, like I said, those skills of attention and inhibition in a bilingual child. And it's really interesting because it looks like playtime, but Ardondo really manages the child very well with that scary cap.
Yeah, that is so fascinating too that they're willing to go along with it, but masking it almost as a game really provides that insight they're looking for. We're talking about this story that's available on our website right now. If you're just joining us, one of our news interns this semester, Cameron Greiser, is here discussing her reporting. The headline right there reading, "Bilingual Children Might Have a Superpower, UT Study Finds." Now, some children do not grow up in a bilingual household, Cameron. I for sure didn't, but Cameron, you found out you can actually gain that experience, that exposure in another way for these families out there.
Yes, so Austin especially has a variety of preschools which cater specifically to teaching children two different languages at once from a very young age. And one of the preschools that I was able to interview was Atelier Preschool. They teach students as young as 12 months old how to speak Spanish alongside English. And I think that one thing that Susana Alverdi, the director of this preschool, spoke to me about and I found particularly interesting was also the cultural benefits of bilingualism. You know, in Texas, we have 30% of households that speak Spanish, and we also have 20% of students in English second language programs right now. And that number is increasing every year. So it's really vital, Susana said, that these students are able to communicate with one another, and actually learning two different languages, you know, helps children develop their theory of mind. They can empathize better and understand different perspectives. And overall, more friends, right? More languages, more friends from different cultures. So
yeah, this truly is such a fascinating story, and the research that they're doing was worth getting into because the article that you've put together, Cameron, is so interesting, and it is available on our website. Again, the headline there, "Bilingual Children Might Have a Superpower, UT Study Finds." Cameron, it's also been trending all day, so really great job with that. Before we let you go, I know that your time here at KXAN, you've been spending this last semester with us here learning about the industry, and I'm curious what your future plans are, or what you would like to do once you graduate in May.
Well, I have spent a lot of time in my college career doing digital video, actually. So my plan is to go into multimedia reporting, you know. I've had the chance here at KXAN to write some awesome stories and also go out on several shoots. And I'm just ready to take all these amazing experiences I've had and bring them into the real world.
Well, I think that you will have no trouble finding a job, and hopefully this is just an introduction for you for many more great stories to come. Cameron Greiser, thank you so much again.
Thank you, Will.
All right, everybody, if you want to read Cameron's story, it is available right now on KXAN.com. You can also check it out on the KXAN News mobile app. Download that onto your smartphone if you haven't done so already. Once again, I'm Will Dupree in the KXAN Live studio. Thank you all for watching here this afternoon on KXAN Live. We will see you back here at another time, everybody. Please stay safe and healthy out there. Take care.